How you doing? I'm Tim, and what a day. There I was when I woke up this morning thinking my only job rugby-wise was to prepare for the Heineken Champions Cup round 4 games that I'm working on. I'll be at Welford Road on Friday night and at Northampton on Saturday. So tune in to BT Sport if you get the chance. That'd be great. Really good game on Friday night, actually. So yeah, I was all excited about that. And then the news dropped from the RFU Council and their vote, which happened on the 16th of January and has massive implications for the game of rugby at all levels, except for the top 2, which they describe as the community game, which now the community game means National 1 and below. I used to play in National 1 when I was a player, and very good level. That now is being treated the same as my son's under-15 rugby team, the community game, which are all going to be under, from next season, lowering of the tackle height across rugby in England. And I wonder if other governing bodies are going to follow suit. They're going to be in lockstep on this one. And it says, to support player welfare, those first 4 words, that is the justification for such a ginormous change which lowers the tackle height to the waist. And it says, encourages the ball carrier to remain upright. I don't know what encourage means. You know, shout, please, go on, Johnny, stay upright, or penalise them if they don't. I think we know which one of those 2 it is. So the justification for doing so is player welfare, and they mention concussion and trying to limit the amount of it. Lowering the tackle height will encourage the tackler to bend more at the waist and minimise the risk of this occurring whilst maintaining the tackle as an integral part of the game. It was a unanimous vote, and it's coming at the start of the new season. I don't know about you, I was shocked. I was stunned. I was, if I'm really honest, a little bit sad and a little bit angry, which is why I've waited a while to make this video, because I don't think spitting out your opinions fueled by emotion is good for anyone. So I've had a bit of time to think about it. And the RFU, in that statement, which I just showed you a glimpse of, what they referred to several times was the evidence, the data, the studies that have been done. So I think the first point of call is to have a look at those studies. And, well, you may remember a few years ago there was a trial in the RFU Championship Cup. So the Championship Cup, and this involved some sides from Ireland and Wales. It was sort of a British Cup, wasn't it? So they've got experience of this. Anyway, they trialled a tackle height of armpit and below. I don't know if you remember, but it was scrapped fairly quickly before the end of the proposed trial for reasons of player safety. They were worried about the player safety issues. The findings were documented in the British Journal of Sports Medicine. 126 game study. The results are there online for you to see. And you'll see the conclusion. Legislating to lower the height of the tackle meant that tacklers made contact with the ball carrier's head and neck 30% less often. That sounds great, doesn't it? However, let's get the full picture. This did not influence concussion incidence rates. So the concussions just happened to different people in different places at different times in a game. The law of unintended consequences. Tacklers in the lowered tackle height setting suffered more concussions than did tacklers in the standard tackle height setting. That's one study. The RFU have referred to this trial that's been done in 2 of the higher amateur leagues in France. And on the HH's Twitter account, this is documented. So some facts on the trials in tackle height previously held. English Championship Cup. Trial was abandoned before it finished due to safety concerns and did not reduce the incidence of concussion. More happened to the tacklers, as you've just seen in that journal. The trial in France, this is the headlines of that. And what you will have seen, I'm sure, if you've read newspaper articles, they've been given the talking points and the justification. And there's a lot of newspaper articles and a lot of journalists who have just passed on the RFU's PR points, and I don't think have given them the scrutiny they deserve. I've looked at the scrutiny of it, and I'll tell it to you now. You're going to see the quote that the trial in France reduced head-on-head contact by 63%. Nice, good headline, that, isn't it? Nice little, oh, that sounds good. That's good then. However, You just have to remember that means head on head, not head contact. When you actually peel back the layers of the onion here, in this trial, the rate of suspected or confirmed concussion in 2 amateur leagues dropped from 2.71 pre-trial to 2.24 post-trial per 1,000 hours of matches. And I've calculated, and by all means get a calculator out and tell me if I'm wrong on this, but a 14-team league, assuming it's a 14-team league, that's 7,280 minutes in total with every game across the league season. And using those numbers, 2.71 per 1,000 hours and 2.24 per 1,000 hours, what this study has showed in this trial of moving the tackle height down to the waist reduced the number of concussions from 19.7 in 2018 to 16.3 in 2021-22 over an entire league season. So 14-team league, 16.3 concussions across the entire league season. And before the trial, it was 19.7. Now, it's really important when you see the difference between numbers to understand that that doesn't necessarily mean that A causes B. The lowering of the tackle height doesn't mean that that's the reason why there's 3 concussions fewer. Although, just take it. Let's assume it was. Let's assume it's all down to the trial. When you weigh up the massive change this is going to make to the game as we know it, and the split it's going to cause between the pro and the amateur levels, is 3.4 concussions over a whole league season between all 14 teams in that league justification for such a massive change? It sounds flippant about 4 concussions, but I think this brings me to a broader point just for a second. In fact, I'll come back to that in a minute. Let me go through this. So yeah, that correlation doesn't always equal causation. Between 2018 and 2022, our understanding of an awareness of concussion and the way we treat them and the protocols has massively improved. And the 3.4 extra concussions across an entire league season could be down to that alone. Could be. It could be down to the reduction in the tackle height. It could be any number of factors. They've not established that it's a cause, and yet the RFU are using this as a key cornerstone in their justification for completely changing the game. And there's no getting around it. This completely changes the game. It's interesting, and I mentioned the lawsuits there. It's interesting that on this same day, word of amateur player lawsuits has come to light. And could it be that they're just scared of being sued into oblivion? Could it be that they look covetingly at the NFL, which I hear them talking about, and they'd rather that, well, actually, we want a different type of sport, and we want the elite sport to be a spectator sport, and then what everyone else plays to be a different type of rugby? I wonder. I think all possibilities are on the table at this point. But if you're justifying this change on player welfare and evidence, show me the evidence, because you haven't. And the stuff that's being cited so far does not stack up. So I'm disappointed that some journalists have published this 63% head-on-head contact stat and haven't done any digging or got a calculator out and worked out what the study is actually saying. Because it is not saying what the RFU are claiming it says, in my humble opinion. Again, give me your opinion. Tell me what you think. But to a broader point, when you... excuse me. When you put evidence to one side for a minute and you just think about this in the bigger picture, I keep coming back to this. Like, why does rugby exist at all? Why is it a sport? Why, Twickenham there. Why did Twickenham become a thing and a stadium that people go to and the England team resonate with them? And for 150 years, rugby has primarily, in terms of a participation sport, been a sport which serves as a way of channeling the aggression and the competitiveness in mostly young men. That's why rugby came to be as a sport. It wasn't just a random sport that someone invented and people, I'll give that a go. No. In the animal kingdom, you have rutting stags and alpha male lions fighting. We're civilized now. We're in a civilized society. You need outlets for that kind of aggression, which is natural, primal, and exists in mainly, like I say, young men. That's why rugby exists. And there's a level of sanitization of the sport which it's all about weighing up that risk versus safety on a spectrum. And I just think that this has got the balance completely wrong. And it's gone too far. And some may accuse me of being a dinosaur for saying it, but that is honestly how I feel about it. You can't remove the risk in rugby. In fact, if you remove the risk in rugby, the very people who rugby was a sport for and it came to be because of won't be attracted to it. And that's where I think we're at a fundamental level where the type of person that rugby became a sport to serve and the type of people that rugby appeals to are not the people that the RFU want involved in the game. Or maybe they see that there's more of a different type of person, and so they need to get that type out and get a new type in. What I find really concerning is this schism between the top two divisions and the rest, and that's where it feels like I can't help but think that that's by design. There's an attempt to create effectively two different sports, one that you watch, and they mainly want rugby spectators. And that's the pro game, and then this other kind of sport which isn't the same. I want to play the pro sport. When I was a National 1 player, I wanted to play the pro sport. I aspired to play as high up the pyramid as I could. This would be the equivalent. The only way I can put this would be the equivalent of, can you imagine football, the FA, saying, right, from next season, outside of the Football League, the top 4 divisions, everyone else, no heading. That is the equivalent of this. And I think it's ill thought through. I don't think it'll work. Practically, I just don't see it. And what I can't get my head around is this was a unanimous vote, which makes me wonder whose interests are the RFU Council working for? Who are they representing? I thought they were representatives from the members of the clubs, put them forward via the counties to the RFU Council. And I don't know whose interests they're serving here, because I don't think it's the vast number of people that play rugby. The response to this has been overwhelmingly negative, to the point, that's the only thing that gives me hope, is I'm looking at it thinking, this can't happen. Look at the reaction. It can't happen. I just think of, as a case study, 2 different case studies at different ends of the game. I think of the under-15 team, which I coach, and how a few years ago some of those young lads were scared to stick their head in and tackle, so they would reach and grab with their arms. And it took a lot of work and a lot of effort and a lot of time with them to get the confidence to stick their head down and their shoulder in. Now, those arm tackles where you just grab, well, penalty, you can't do that. And from day one, they're going to have that courage and bravery to get their head right down on someone's waist, on those bony hips and hard knees and stuff. And I just don't think that's going to be feasible. At the other end of the game, I think of the 38-year-old prop who's still playing. He likes rugby as his outlet still, and he likes to spend some time with the boys, but he doesn't train. He just has his 80 minutes on a Saturday. He's not the most flexible guy. 20 stone, this lad. And so he doesn't bend particularly easily. He runs incredibly slowly, so he's not causing a physical danger to anyone. And the way he tackles is relatively upright, very slow, no physical threat or danger. He is out of the game. And they talk about player welfare, and yet only impact this upon level 3 and below. The people in the top 2 divisions, if they'd done this, I wouldn't have agreed with it, but it would have made more sense if they'd made the pro leagues, the top 2 divisions, if they'd made them run by these new laws, because they're the players which are massively fast, massively strong, huge collisions, most at risk, and cannot voluntarily just say, no, I'm not going to play, because they might have mortgages and careers that depend on them playing. Whereas level 3 and below, or certainly the community game, we are all engaging in it voluntarily, of our own accord, because we have assessed for ourselves what the risk profile is, and we've assessed for ourselves that we're happy with that. And yet that decision is being taken top down for us. And I'm just really disappointed. I don't think it will work fundamentally. It's not going to work. And some people have said, oh, just give it, it's only a trial. It's only a trial, give it a go. It's more than a trial when everyone but 24 clubs in the land are going to be operating under these rules. Only the elite 24, 25 clubs, 26 clubs, whatever it is, are going to be operating on this. And everybody else at every level is working under a different set of laws. This is more than a trial. This is a schism. It's ill thought through. It's not going to work. And I think there's many people aren't going to have it. So I'm still confident that it may not happen. And I support every person that makes their voice heard and lets people know that we don't want it to happen. Maybe I'm a dinosaur. And if you think I am, you know what? That's absolutely fine. Maybe I'll be proved wrong. Let's see. Leave your comments. Thanks for watching.